Hello, and welcome to episode 170 of the Colby Cast, your place for community and conversation about pop culture and storytelling. On this episode, Caleb and Luke join me to talk about quite a few things, as we are just talking about off mic. That sounds so technical. But the main thing we want to talk about is House of the Dragon, the most recent episode entitled Smallfolk. So let's say hello to Caleb and Luke. Hello, Luke.
Hi,
How are you today?
I'm swell. How are you?
Splendiferous. I think I always say that splendiferous. I got to come up with a better word. Maybe
I
I
don't
don't.
think
I
I've
don't know.
ever heard you say that before in my life.
Really? I just had a glitch. I thought I always say splendiferous.
First time I've ever heard you say those words.
I think maybe it's like I'm crossing my brain streams with a multiverse Colby who always says splendiferous in another universe.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe this is something you always say to yourself, but have never actually said out loud.
Well, you just jumped over my incredible introduction of you, Caleb. Hi, Caleb. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? I thought I was gonna try and jump over it again, but my timing was off.
You're giving me another opportunity to say splendiferous. I wanted to start out this episode with some big news, and like I said, we will definitely get to talking about House of the Dragon. But if you listen to any of the 169 episodes that precede this episode, you know that we don't always stick to topic, or we don't always start off with our main topic, but we like to chit chat. We like to share a little bit of ourselves and our lives with you. The first episode that Caleb, Luke, and I ever recorded together was titled "Conversations on the Couch," because we do that a lot. We have a lot of conversations while we're just kicking back on the couch, and sometimes we package it up like a podcast and send it out to all of you guys to listen to, and that's what we're going to do right now because I'm excited about this news that we're going to share. Because Caleb, you have something very large about to happen in your life, and that's pretty exciting. A once in a lifetime opportunity, some may say, and it's also going to cause you to miss a couple of recording episodes for the Colby Cast, which you're forgiven. But tell the people why, what's happening, where are you going, what are you doing? Clue us into what's going to be the next couple weeks of your life.
Yeah, really big news. Caleb, myself, am having a baby, and I'm gonna be at the hospital giving birth. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to Paris and going to enjoy the Olympics among other adventures. Travel the world, and it's all in the Colby Cast bill, so it's going to be so much more fun because of that.
I don't know which gave me more heart palpitations, the fact that I was going to become a grandfather and you were going to be giving birth, or that the Colby Cast, which has absolutely no income whatsoever, was going to foot the bill for your European trip. But yeah, that's exciting stuff. I'm just going to hone back in on the actual news, which is you're going to be going to tour a little bit around the continent, as they call it. So you're going to be able to check out some actual Olympic events, are you?
Yeah, and the only thing more impressive about actually being able to watch a relative of my girlfriend's compete in the Olympics for the third time is actually being able to get tickets to the Eiffel Tower, because I guess that's like near impossible these days because of the Olympics being in Paris.
You have to buy tickets to go to the Eiffel Tower?
Well, so you can go and just like observe it, like it's not going anywhere, right?
True.
But to go to what they call like the first floor and the summit, which is like it's the top is the summit, and then the first floor is like the big wide base which you can see people standing on a couple hundred feet above the ground. So you have to get tickets for either of those, and then within those you can either get like stairs to climb all the way up to the first floor or the summit, which sounds horrific to me to go all the way in stairs. Like I can't even tell you how many flights there would be. But we got the what they call lift instead. It's an elevator, people, to the top of the summit, which I guess is very, very, very difficult.
Well, congratulations. I had no idea. Oh, that makes sense. Like, if you want to
Yeah,
go up to the top, you would have to. I mean, that's what we found when we went to New York. You had to buy tickets to go to the Empire State Building, like observation platform. So that makes total sense.
yeah. How
Um,
ironic that the signature for freedom wasn't free.
I
Yeah,
feel
well, national monuments could beat their national monuments in a fight.
Yeah,
I was
especially these
wondering
days.
how. I was wondering how quickly Luke was going to come in with his America, America better than France. So the clock stopped at 5 minutes. So thank you, Luke.
Especially these days, because I guess there's fragments or pieces of the actual Eiffel Tower gonna be either in like the gold medals or all the medals they're giving out at the Olympics this year. It's interesting.
Yeah,
Oh
it's because
wow.
I took a hammer to it.
Well,
Yeah,
it was destroyed in GI Joe, like the Rise of Cobra. You remember when that missile hit it and it just like melted? So I'm sure
Yeah,
that
it
that's
was
probably
like disintegrated.
yeah. That was
you
actually one of the more entertaining parts of that movie. It's sort of a weird movie, but it had its moments.
yeah, you unlocked a memory I did not know I have, but I vividly remember that now that you bring it up.
Yeah, with one of the Wayans brothers, I believe it was. It was and who is it? Channing Tatum running down the streets in like mechanized super suits or something. It's quite the concept.
Yeah, that movie came out when I was like 10, so it was the best movie ever.
Yeah. So Caleb, well, first I have a question for Luke about Caleb's trip to Paris because apparently I think part of something that they're going to do is go to Disneyland in Paris, right? Is that confirmed, Caleb? That's happening. Cool.
It
Well,
is
bring me something from Disneyland, but don't pay for it. And I'm not saying steal something, but just like bring a rock or something. Like if you see a Disneyland Paris, like a scoop of dirt or like a branch or something
what
that's
if
fallen, take
Bring
give me that.
Goofy.
what okay, I don't know if I can do Goofy. I think he's on vacation, not in Paris. But what if I could get you a real life Remy? He might just have like red eyes and like need a lot of cheese and rabies shots. Like, would that be something that interests you?
If it can make me cook better, yes. If I can make ratatouille and make people cry while eating it, then I'll take a real life Remy. As long as they're clean as Remy, because I'm not having any rats up in here.
That's true.
Luke, my question for you was: do you want Caleb to bring you anything back from Paris legally?
Why would I want anything from that country? I have
Well, they're
everything
also gonna. I
right
think they're
here
also
in the
planning to
US.
go to Italy and stuff.
Remind me which
Anything?
side they were on? Exactly.
Okay. Anything from an airport? Then this is your chance. Ask. You can get creative. Like make Caleb take a weird picture in front of some random landmark or something.
Yeah, sure. LAX urinal cake.
Oh, I got you.
I
I will
don't
get
know
it.
what those words are.
I will get the urinal cake when I'm flying out of LAX and keep it with me until I land back in LAX.
Why do the two words urinal and cake go together? I'm very confused. What is this that we're talking about?
The female gender is probably very confused.
Oh, are those like the smelly things in the urinals for the men's room? Is that what we're talking about? Like the
Yeah,
thing that that
the
came
little
out wrong. That came out
Yeah,
so wrong. Like the thing that makes you the thing that makes the bad smell go away.
there's the little squishy things that are sit at the bottom of the urinal.
yeah, it's the
Oh,
target
got
when
it.
you pee.
you took my joke. You took my joke. No, please don't go fishing that. That's disgusting, Luke. I just should know better than ask you questions like that. Well, you're being very humble. You're not mentioning who you're going over there to see compete, but I will. Swimmer and multi-medalist American swimmer Abby Weitzel is a few steps removed from us, and we're super excited and wish the best for her as well as all the Olympic athletes over there, hoping for. So, well, I selfishly am super happy because there's going to be a ton of sports to watch and some incredible competition because the Summer Olympics is sort of unparalleled and it's starting like in a couple of days. So there's going to be tons
Yeah.
of cool stuff to watch. So,
We're
and
gonna be in the air for opening ceremony, but like the entire time we're there is the entire time of the Olympics.
well,
Greatest basketball player of all time is going to carry the American flag as well. LeBron James.
oh, I was going to say Michael Jordan. What's he going to be doing there?
No, Michael Jordan, when he was LeBron's age, was in a wheelchair.
That's completely untrue. That's not right. And I'm not even a big Bulls fan. Like I just know great when I see great, and like Magic Johnson's my guy. Like he was Showtime in the '80s. Those no look passes. There was a time where I would fight tooth and nail saying Magic Johnson was better than Michael Jordan, but I've grown up. I've moved past that. But Michael Jordan wins if you're talking about versus LeBron James. And I know you don't agree with me, but I digress.
Well, it's just because you're wrong, but that's fine.
So anyway, yeah, Caleb, go
What
ahead.
what what Olympic event are you most excited for, and why is it breakdancing?
Women's long jump.
Breakdancing is an actual event. Is this true?
For the first time. Yep.
That's sick. Are you kidding me? Like that's legitimately sick. I might be very excited for that.
I'm most excited for men's basketball.
Mm,
Um, Another one will be beach volleyball. Love me some beach volleyball.
yep.
And track. I'm a big track guy.
I was going to say track and field. I've been watching some of. There's a Netflix documentary about. I think it's called Sprint, and it highlights the sprinters. So like the 100 meters and 200-meter athletes, and it was really interesting. Got me on board to watch, to be excited for these athletes. So yeah, I enjoy the track and field. So that's definitely high on my list. What about you, Caleb? I mean, you're going to go to some of the swimming events.
Yeah,
What else has got you going?
it's not even in France. It's in one of their territories. I think near Tahiti or something like that. But they're doing surfing and like open water events over there, and the Olympians that are competing in those are on an actual like cruise ship as their Olympic village. It is insane. By no means am
Oh
I
wow.
saying it's the thing I'm looking forward to the most, but I just think it's an insane concept.
That there's a lot of crazy stuff going on with these Olympics because the opening ceremonies are going to be like none other. They're actually going to be like the athletes are going to be arriving on boats going down a river through the middle of Paris, and people lining the sides, and it's not going to be like actually in like a stadium traditionally like it usually is. So yeah, lots of different stuff happening this year. So, well, we're super excited for this opportunity for you and Brittany. Of course, everybody wishes you safe travels and come back safely. And we are now on WhatsApp, so I want you to spam me with pictures and let me know. I want to feel like I'm there with you guys. So, um, we wish you guys the best and to make incredible memories. We're very happy and proud of you both. And come home safe. We will miss you.
Thank you.
One other thing, Luke and I had the opportunity to literally watch the Acolyte finale last week, and we turned off the TV, got in front of the microphone, and recorded our instant reactions, which turned into a like a 45-minute conversation about our thoughts. So we're not going to bore anyone with a rehash of our final thoughts on the finale, which was a pretty decent episode of TV. Um, because we already did that, but I would love to have you have an opportunity, Caleb, to share with the world and our 9 other listeners um, what you thought about the Acolyte finale.
I have before I give my 30-second recap and opinions, which people are so eager for. I have a question. Was
Hmm.
this the attempt Star Wars was making to be like this is their version of Game of Thrones? Am I incorrect on that?
I don't know that it would be. What do you mean by their attempt at being Game of Thrones? Like being more mature and
Mature,
edgy?
cutthroat, edgy. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I don't know that it would be fair to compare it to a Game of
But
Thrones.
there was something like they said something along this is going to be a lot more serious of a tone or along those lines, right?
Yeah. From I think from the beginning, everybody understood that it was going to be a more mature, and it was going to be a darker story because it was going to focus on dark side users and that type or that corner of the galaxy. So in that sense, yeah, more mature storytelling and maybe more. I don't want to say violent, but a little bit. I'll just go. I'll stick with mature. Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be accurate.
that'd be a good way to put it. Um, I really, really didn't like it, and that's my version, put through a filter about 6 times. Um, but I think for me, it comes down to when Osha and May are deciding to go with the stranger, but Osha is now in May's position, but would never have ever put herself in that position, but also never wanted to lose her sister again, but was perfectly okay with her losing her entire memory of their existence and their all of their memories. it seemed like it was trying to be too many things at once and wasn't anything really important at all. It gave us some really, really good gems, but to me, it was like trying to appeal to TikTok or social media or Twitter users who are gonna feed off of the engagements of Yoda being there and Plagueis and the lightsaber whip and that kyber crystal dying. Like, objectively, all of those things are extremely cool and intriguing and very interesting to super Star Wars nerds or just surface level Star Wars fans. And to have the strong feelings that I have toward the show with those things still in it is really, really disappointing to me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And we really haven't had an opportunity to even talk about like our thoughts on the show, but I don't think it's that far off of what you said. I was listening to. I shared this with Luke off mic, but I want to. I think it's a good point. I listened to one podcast that was covering the finale, and it's the Comic Book Nation, hosted by Kofi Outlaw. They do a terrific job. They do a lot of coverage of things that we really enjoy, and they were one of the first episodes to be available, and I really wanted to start to consume some other people's opinions about this show. And Kofi said something that I'm going to absolutely steal from him because it's so perfect. He is a big Star Wars fan, and he's very well versed on the comics and the books and the movies, the shows, and everything. And he said that there were a lot of cool parts to this show, but he felt like the sum of the parts never came through and were
Yeah.
successful. So
Yeah.
there were parts that he enjoyed, but he didn't really enjoy the sum of those parts. And I like that idea. And I won't go on too much of a rant, but like last week I shared, this is a story that lacks hope. And I think Star Wars DNA is hope. And I'll share with you a text message that I sent to a friend, um, that I think summed it up pretty good, because I've been really trying to process my ideas and thoughts and feelings about the show, because it was I felt like you too, Caleb. You said you were disappointed, and so was I. Uh, Basically, I said my enjoyment of the show began to wane in the second half of the season and flatlined after the finale. Simply put, I don't go to Star Wars to see this type of story. Star Wars to me I understand people want to see a dark side story that involves the rise of a dark side person, which is falling to the dark side. That's not something that's ever really interested me too much. But as long as it's in the context of there's going to be redemption at some point, and I don't see that here, so that's really where I fell on it. It's still Star Wars. I love the fact that it added to the tapestry of the galaxy, and I there were things that I did enjoy. The fight choreography was incredible, like really second to none. I
Yeah.
loved the score and the music. There were parts of characters. I mean, Jackie was and Soul were highlights for me. But anyway, so I won't go too long on it. But thank you for your thoughts, Luke. Was there anything that a week being removed from this show for a week? Any new things that you would like to share that you didn't get a chance to share last week?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to not watching it again.
Last thing on the Acolyte chapter. Um, are we in the majority or minority in our feelings about this show? I don't have any idea.
I'm going to say that the show was very divisive, but what Star Wars isn't divisive anymore? I mean, it
Yeah.
seems like everything that comes out is divisive. But what I feel, at least in the circles that I've seen, is that there are lots of people that did enjoy it, and those were the people that that we're looking forward to seeing this type of story being told. And I have to say, I'm happy for the people that did enjoy it. I take no joy whatsoever in not enjoying something that comes out of Star Wars, because Star Wars is just very special to me as a franchise, as a property. There are, of course, the very disingenuous bad actors that just, and I don't mean performers, I mean people that are out there trying to stir up hate. There's always those people. I'm not even going to give them the time of day. But then there are people, I think, like me, that are in the middle, that are like, yeah, there was some enjoyment here, but maybe it just wasn't for me. So it's sort of all over the place. People are hoping for a season two, and I said it last week. I would watch a season two of this show. So it remains to be seen if that actually happens. So at any rate, I see what they tried to do, and again, for me, it's just not the type of story that I'm gonna rush to go
I'm not even
want to see.
so worried about the story. I was worried about the storytelling. That's where I stand on the show.
I agree with you, and there are a lot of clunky bits there. Like there were, I was confused by some of the characters' choices that they made, and so on and so forth. And seemingly, I mean, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse because this is a House of the Dragon episode technically, so we won't go backwards. We're just going to go forwards. But one thing I did want to share with you is that after being berated by you for quite a bit, and Luke is going to get tired of me saying this because he's heard me say it so frequently this last week, but I watched Fallout, and that show was incredible. I
Right?
can't stop talking about about this show, and I think I even texted you after I because you watched it first, and you have been telling us to watch it. Luke, have you
Yeah.
started watching it yet?
No,
I think
Do
I
you
watched
plan
it.
on watching it?
no.
Why? Why would you want to watch it?
I got other stuff to watch. I'm watching documentaries right now.
Well, I definitely want to hear about your documentaries but I just wanted to share Fallout. No spoilers. Caleb, you were right. Thoroughly enjoyable. I texted you when I was finished with it, and I'm just like, this is how you do television. I was so unbelievably impressed and entertained by this show. The characters are great. Luke, the writing is very good. So, you're going to
there
like that.
are there are two characters that Luke will despise when he inevitably breaks and watches the show.
Oh,
But
interesting.
the story is really good and the writing is excellent.
I really enjoyed the world that they built. I was super confused, and they made you that way. That's part of,
Yeah,
sometimes you want to be, sometimes you're confused by the story on purpose because that's how they designed it. Other times you're confused because things don't make sense. This show confused you on purpose, and you wanted to be confused more. I felt
yeah.
that's how I felt. But yeah, the performances were great. The story is great. The world is cool, and that's what I've watched, sort of in the absence of Star Wars, more Star Wars to watch. So I highly recommend it. I do want to share. Last thing about Fallout is that I shared that with my group of nerd friends that we have a group chat. That we just sort of have like this running dialogue with, and Ross Hollowman, the unofficial official fourth member of the Colby Cast, is a part of that group. And I shared with them how much I enjoyed Fallout, and he responded with a witty retort in which he said, "Hey guys, I have a show that I watch that I like too. It's called Alf." Get it? Like I've waited so long to share his.
I get it now. That makes
Yeah.
sense
So
because Alf came out like 146 years ago.
It's actually in the 1940s.
Oh, okay. That
the
makes sense.
1940s? No, 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 no. It's 1980s, and Alf was amazing. But yeah, so Ross gave me a real zinger there. So good job, buddy. I always feel the love, Ross. Always feel the but Caleb, you watched something recently. Want to share what that was?
Yeah, I had to clock in and clock out every single time. The pay was fantastic. I really enjoyed every second of this, but it was a full-time job for this. I watched the extended cuts of the Lord of the Rings movies, and I think at one point I became one with the sofa and went into a different dimension and need to fight off the threads that were becoming like one with my hair and my skin and my clothes somehow. But what's his name? Gandalf was there with me the whole time and made it very easy.
Were you becoming one with the couch like Bootstrap Bill Turner was becoming one with Davy Jones' ship?
Oh yeah, that's a great reference. I'm 3 out of 5 movies done with that series. I guess I was just so in love with, Orlando Bloom that I just chose to watch both of his biggest franchise.
Well, that sort of leads me to my next question because you did have a lot of high praise for oh my gosh, why is his name escaping me? You'll have to tell me what it is because you're the Lord of the Rings expert now. The guy that the elf that Orlando Bloom played um in Lord of the Rings. What's his name?
Legolas?
Oh yeah, thank you. Legolas, yeah. You were sort of smitten, enamored maybe with Legolas there for a minute, weren't you?
he's the best character. Him and arguably by the end, Samwise was the best. Um, Aragorn, those three might be my big three, but I could not get enough of the duality of Schmeagol and Gollum. That was
Mm.
so amazing to me. So I would put him. I think I would put them four of them, and I would think they would be my Mount Rushmore of Lord of the Rings characters.
You seem to have been pretty happy with the. I don't remember his name because it's been many moons since I've watched it, so I apologize to any Lord of the Rings fans that I am butchering all these names. But
Gimli.
the dwarf Gimli, yeah, Gimli.
Gimli. Gimli would be an honorable mention for sure. But that's like it's it makes sense why so many things are made from books and do so well in movies or shows or whatever because there's just so much substance to go with that like a well-told story is going to be a well-told story regardless of the avenue they take. Um you just fall in love with all of them and especially with how much time they had in the extended cuts, it was amazing.
So I'm glad to welcome you back onto, or maybe onto for the first time, to the Lord of the Rings bandwagon. Glad you enjoyed them. Luke, do you remember watching these? You were quite young when we did this sort of a marathon through these movies. Do you remember them, or have you watched them since then?
No and no. I remember liking them. Um, I like the world building. I like the lore, but no, I don't have the the recollection to be able to name characters outside of just like the generic ones that everybody knows, like Legolas.
Except me, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and I'd be open to rewatching them, but that's a lot of watching to do.
Who biggie and how is there? That's a lot of watching because they push like close to 4 hours, all three of them, right, with the extended cut.
Yeah, I think the first two were like around 3 hours and 40 minutes, maybe 3 hours, 50 minutes. And then the last one was like 4.5 hours.
I talked about Fallout. You talked about Lord of the Rings. Luke, you mentioned your documentaries. Do you want to share anything about those documentaries, or is something else interesting that you have been watching that you can add to this?
I have been dying to watch sports. I've been very deprived, and
Yeah, it's been a very cold time.
I tried to watch soccer, not football, soccer, because it's called soccer. And no, I don't acknowledge its existence within the sports realm. And tried to watch baseball. That was slightly better than soccer. I'm actually going to a baseball game next week. I'm going to watch the San Diego Padres beat their little brother Dodgers. Well,
Say that with a
seriously,
straight face. Try again.
remind me what happened last playoffs. Don't ask me to
When was
name. Don't ask me to name three Padres players, but I know they beat the Dodgers.
that's
Hold on, time out.
literally
Just go ahead. Go ahead.
that's literally less valuable than the Ducks beating the Kings when they beat them in playoffs one time. Like the Ducks have a World Series equivalent. They've won a Stanley Cup. San Diego is just out here supplying like peds to people and renaming their Petco Park to Petco Park and bringing in fans who can't make it to LA, the best city in the world.
Maybe the Dodgers should start taking more peds so their pitchers aren't always injured. They
I
want to
don't
spend
know what I.
Shohei Otani, but they can't spend money on a training staff. Come on.
I
How
don't
does it
know
feel
what I enjoy more.
three
Hold on.
other
I don't know
people
what I
have?
enjoy. Luke is just talking. Why is he just talking? I have to. I'll mute you. I don't know what I enjoy more, like the banter between the two of you with his Padres Dodgers, like fake rivalry, or the fact that Luke just literally picked a close rival to root for so he can root against the
Yeah,
Dodgers.
when he was going on his whole kick about getting like favorite teams from different sports, where he somehow became a Nuggets and a Vikings fan, and
Yeah.
then just randomly. I don't even remember. I think you picked like the Marlins or something. Oh my god!
Put on a
Enjoy,
Padres shirt.
enjoy wearing your pee pee yellow and your poo poo brown.
Yeah, the it was actually the Kansas City Royals that were my MLB team, and then I realized I don't need an MLB team because I don't care about baseball. But then,
But you just spent $45 on literally like I'll bring you a urinal cake and you can add it to the collection. You're already wearing one.
here's the thing: it ain't a rivalry if one side always wins.
Yeah, that's why it's little brother Padres. You guys have 6 people in your stadium. That's how many it seats.
You're
It'll
saying
be
it like he lives there, bro.
it'll be
He's
11 when
12
me and
feet
my
away
friends
from you
go.
right now.
He's
What?
wearing the shirt. That is enough.
Yeah, and it ain't coming off.
Can you sing the song, Luke? Can you sing
I
the song?
will leave. I will permanently retire
He won't
after my.
sing it. He
He,
won't
he's
sing it.
he's going to Paris soon. I have to be nice. I'm not going to say.
He won't- I told you he wouldn't sing it. You're not going to go see Deadpool and Wolverine in Paris, are you, Caleb?
Absolutely not.
I would totally do that. Like going to a movie in another country would
They played in French.
they do, yes. They do. Oh, that's a very good point. They probably will. I did not
Yeah,
think that out. I did not think that through.
yeah. I'm sure there are American movie theaters, but if I'm going and trying to enjoy Olympic things in a foreign country, the last thing I want to do is spend 3 hours in a movie theater because I wouldn't spend 3 hours in a movie theater here normally.
Well, don't worry. We've got you covered because Luke and I are going to go see it on Friday. And we
Are you
will
guys gonna get
WhatsApp you.
the popcorn bucket?
Luke, you're going to get the popcorn bucket.
I want the popcorn bucket.
I'm not spending a dime on a popcorn bucket. I'm sorry. But if you buy it, I that would make me happy, but I'm not buying that. But we're gonna go see the movie, and then afterwards we're gonna WhatsApp you all the spoilers, so you won't miss anything.
Okay. I think I have to adjust our WhatsApp chat.
I don't even know what WhatsApp is, but now I have it, so I'm excited about learning about how to use a new app. But yeah, we're gonna go see Deadpool Wolverine. I'm excited. There's a lot of buzz about this dang movie, and I can't wait to see it because I'm trying to avoid everything right now, and it's
Yeah.
getting more and more difficult.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
excited for it too. I am really going to enjoy it when it comes to streaming services because I have thoroughly, the only thing I've enjoyed more than my hiatus of movie theaters is just like life.
I don't know why you don't like movie theaters. Luke, would you be
People
going to see this
have
movie this
no
weekend if I wasn't buying you the ticket?
Yeah, I would be looking to see it. I'm also potentially going to see it again this following week, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday in San Diego.
Cool.
They will
Yeah.
be playing that movie in English.
There's a not
I
in
hope so.
French. All right. Well, I think that's ticked all the boxes off before that I had, to chat with you guys. You never disappoint. Want to talk about House of the Dragon, episode 6, called Smallfolk? Would you like to discuss that now?
Yes, please.
Luke, how did you like this episode?
As usual, I liked it. Good writing. Um, didn't love it. Didn't love it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was good. I was hoping for a little more action. I think that it was an important episode and a lot happened, and it was a it was a good episode to move the plot along. But I am a little disappointed, to be honest, at the lack of action so far, considering there are only 2 episodes left. Um, if you're gonna if you're gonna get me in for the long haul and you want to have some stretches of time where there's just mainly talking, um, that's fine because it's good talking. But at the same time, you got to give me a guarantee of a couple more seasons where I'm going to see some more action because I'm sure we'll see at least one more major fight, and there's 2 episodes left. But if in an entire season there's only 2 fight scenes, I think it's a little bit of a missed opportunity.
I figured you might say something about the action, and I have something to share about that too. But Caleb, I want to hear your thoughts on it. How did you like the episode? And yeah.
Yeah, Luke's about that action, so that makes perfect sense. I think it would be really important too, but I'm hopping onto Luke's boat, but I'm also 1 foot still like on the dock because I know once I'm fully in that boat expecting the action, my heart's going to be ripped right out of my chest because all the dragons are going to die because that's literally what House of the Dragon is going to lead to. And I don't want to do that because they've had some really, really, really cool scenes. And just the lore around the dragons has definitely grown. We've learned more about the history of them, and we've learned the names flat out are incredible of these dragons. But again, they don't. If we wanted to learn about just the dragons, we'd open a book or look it up on Google. I think the story being told has been a slow burn, but one that I've enjoyed because of the tension they've been building and the literal like family tree that they keep puzzling together. I am very grateful that I pulled out my headphones the other day when we were recording about what was his name, Alan.
Yes, yeah, I thought about that. Yeah.
I was watching the episode with Britt and Mark again, and I literally like had the Leonardo DiCaprio oh moment pointing at the TV, and they both just sort of looked at me, and I think it's incredible. I thought that was fantastic. To me, that was the payoff of the episode, and it wasn't even like that big. And then see smoke later, which we'll talk about. I think I didn't like Luke didn't love the episode, but I wasn't far from loving it.
I was wondering about, because like we've said in the past, we really don't talk too much about this kind of stuff until we record about it so that we can have, pretty authentic conversation about these things. And I've been curious as to what both of you thought about not just this episode, but sort of this season, because it has, like you mentioned, the slow burn. There has been a lot of people talking in
Yeah,
rooms, which, Luke, like you mentioned, you like that because it's good, right? Like the writing is good, the performances are incredible, the show looks great, and like Rhaenyra is in her room talking to people and you can hear the sounds of dragons under her. Like that's just,
yeah.
there's compelling things going on, and I'm eating it up. Like it makes me think of Loki season 1, where I would go around saying like I just want to see Loki and Mobius sitting at a table talking. It was just so entertaining, and I'm eating it up about this, with about that aspect of the show. But I was curious to see how you guys were feeling about it, because it has gone on sort of longer than I thought it would. And you're both right, like you guys are sort of chomping at the bit to see a little bit more action. But in this show, Caleb, you alluded to it, what that means is the death of characters that you've come to like, but also dragons too. And then it made me think about like this whole show is about, I mean, we know where the Targaryens end up by the beginning of Game of Thrones. Like they're not in a good place.
No.
There's no more dragons in Game of Thrones, so you know that there's this whole show is just leading to tragedy, but we just keep coming back to watch it every week. So in the with the lack of action, I mean, and it's not completely lacking. Like there's the whole scene with the two queens that go to the sept to light candles, and then the small folk are are like throwing fish at Alicent, and a dude gets his arm chopped off. Now there's action there, but it's not like what you guys are looking for. You want to see some Blackwood versus Bracken carnage, right?
For sure.
I'm okay with more fish being thrown at Allison.
Can I
What
tell
do
you?
they
Can I
call
tell
her?
you,
Fish queen?
Fish Queen? Can I tell you that I love watching the show, that the supplementary show, I mentioned it before, the house that dragons built, I think is what it's called, and it's like the behind the scenes making of, and they talked about that whole scene. And I guess that was a fake fish that they made. Of course, they're not going to chuck a real rotten fish
Bummer.
at someone, but they made it very, very realistic. And the guy that was his job to throw it at her, like he sort of threw it at her, and it sort of looked okay, but the director wasn't super happy with how it looked. But then Olivia Cook went to the guy and was like, "No, just whip it, just like don't be afraid, like just get
Crank
get
it
in
at
there."
me.
And then they shot the take that got into the episode, which she really gets nailed in the face with that
Yeah,
fish, and she was all for it. She's like, "No, chuck it right at me." So that's dedication to your craft,
for sure.
But anyway, and they also talked about like that guy that got his hand chopped off. Um, Poor guy. I mean, he's just like he wasn't going after them to hurt them. He was asking for help, and they showed like how they have to shoot that scene,
Yeah.
like with the guy getting, and it's like four different angles and cameras and setups that you have to get just for that one slice coming down and seeing
Wow.
the prosthetic fake arm hit the ground. It's so fascinating stuff. But I digress. Again, that's my job, is to digress. We were talking about dragons, so let's just stick with dragons. I had to laugh, not because Sir Stefan Darkland got baked to a crisp. That scene was very enthralling to me. I'd love to hear what you guys thought about that, but will share something else that the director, or Stephen, I think his name is Stephen Condell. Anyway, the showrunner started to refer to him as Sir Stefan Sparkland, even though his name is Darkland. He called him Sir Stefan Sparkland because he got set on fire.
That's hard on the ears.
That's great. What did you guys think about that? And did you think that this was going to work, or you were convinced that it wasn't right off the bat, or did you go back and forth like I did? Just walk me through your thoughts on that scene.
I thought it was a very well made scene. I thought it was important. It was very fitting and convenient that it was a knight, because a knight in the Queen's Guard at that, because a knight in the Queen's Guard is going to be very almost eager to sacrifice himself. And if you're giving somebody who's committed their lives to protecting somebody, if you're going to give them the opportunity or the gamble of potentially being a dragon rider, I think that's something they're going to take every single time. And I remember watching it thinking like, yeah, this guy seems like a really good dude. There's no way he survives.
That's so sad.
Yeah, there are always sacrificial characters. Like when stakes are getting high and somebody's gonna die, whether it's a horror movie or just a movie that like this is there's gonna be a sacrifice. They're not gonna do it to characters that we've attached ourselves to. And in that instance, like even before you just sort of saw what's his name? Sea Smoke? Is that what's his name?
Yeah, see smoke.
Okay. Uh, Even though Sea Smoke was like, all right, yeah, I'll play around. Um, I never thought like, yeah, there's a chance this happens, and I'm really glad it didn't. Both because from like a logistical standpoint, I feel like it's sort of like a cop out show level, but in terms of like actual lore and story around the Targaryens, I think there's such a top tier this family across two different shows and just like as a story in general that if you're saying that like he is half of a half of a half of a percent Targaryen and now he can control what people think are gods. I just don't think it's the story that they're trying to tell, but I do think the way they did it was incredible.
Yeah, I agree. The whole storyline with like, I don't want to call it the democratization of dragon riding, because that's not really what it is, because they are still trying to stick to like you got to have Targaryen blood. But what we saw later was very compelling to me, because Sea Smoke is just like, yeah, you look okay to me, but nope. And
Yeah,
couldn't he or well, Sea Smoke is a she, right? Are the dragons she's?
I have no idea.
There are
I don't.
male and female dragons.
Okay, so I apologize. I don't know if Sea Smoke is a male or
I
female, but
believe Sea Smoke is a male and Cyrax is a female, and that they bred and made the eggs that become Daenerys's.
oh, gotcha.
Don't quote
Okay,
me on
so
that.
Sea Smoke is a male then. So could he have just been like, "Nah, I'm not feeling it," and then just walked away? Like, did he have to burn the guy? I'm like,
Probably.
I know that's sort of the chance that you're taking, right? Um, but then one of the things I thought was cool, and we'll just stick with Sea Smoke here. Later on, we clearly see him. He chooses his writer in an unconventional way, right? And it's
Yeah.
Adam, the other illegitimate son of Corliss's. And I thought that scene was cool how they confirmed that for us, which is you're talking about, the Leo
Yeah.
DiCaprio pointing at the screen.
So before you continue, sometimes I can be an idiot. And I want to just clarify whether I'm actually an idiot or not. Did you guys like Luke? You already knew who Alan was, but was there any actual like indication of Alan's white hair until he was like shaving his head?
Not that I remember.
Okay, cool. I don't feel that stupid because at no point did I ever pick up that that could have been Corliss's son. I just sort of thought like I don't know, Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, they have a way of throwing things off. I just immediately assumed that maybe like Alan was like a lover or something like that because that was just like the awkward exchanges they always had and the like the standoffishness that Alan always gave Corliss. But the moment that I had the Leo DiCaprio meme was like, oh my god, he has white hair. That's gotta be his son. And then they're talking the whole time in that scene about them being siblings. I go, oh my god, we got dragon riders. Let's go. Let's do it.
Oh, that's interesting. I never even thought about that in that scene, but you're 100% right, which is clearly what happened later. But talking about Alan's hair, if you now I sort of want to go back and rewatch, and I'm not going to do this, but it would be interesting if somebody had this information. Maybe one of you two do. But if you think back to his scenes in the show so far, because he's been in almost every episode, if not maybe every episode, I noticed that in some of them he's wearing a head wrap. You can't physically even
Yeah.
see his hair. I just don't know if he's been like that in every scene or if there were other scenes where he was like right after a clean shave and he felt good about going out. But yeah, that how interesting of a reveal was that of him giving himself a haircut, and then like if there was any if there was any doubt left in your mind, Adam just basically comes out and says it like, yeah, he doesn't talk to me like that. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't treat me the way he treats you. So clearly they're brothers. And to your point, Caleb, then they have the Valarian blood, which then makes them potential dragon riders. And clearly now, although we didn't see it implicitly, Sea Smoke goes after Adam, corners him, and basically like is like, pick me, you fool.
Yeah.
Like I'm here, dude.
Yeah. I think it's so cool that the dragon has to pick the rider, not the other way around.
Yeah, I like that topsy turvy sort of turning it on its side kind of thing.
I just remembered that they mentioned that for who it was one of Corliss's granddaughters or somebody wasn't able to claim a dragon, and that they
Reina.
tried. Reyna had tried to claim a dragon, but none had taken her. So no, you do not have to get crispied so that you can
Oh, very good point.
every
Yeah.
time you try to claim a
Yeah,
dragon.
I like that
absolutely.
point a lot. And although that's like a definite fear that Rhaenyra had, where it's like, is everybody that's gonna go up to a dragon gonna be like just burnt to nothing? I thought that fear of not letting Rhaena anywhere near anything because she's got out unscathed once is even cooler now that she found a wild dragon. That is so incredible to me.
All right, so last thought on Sea Smoke, and then I want to sort of shift up to the, what is it called, the Erie? The Erie, is that what you're referring to, Reina and all that stuff?
Yeah, the
Um,
Erie.
so last thought on if and you're completely correct. Reina did try, we know, and was not chosen by the dragon and did not turn into a crispy critter. So that just means Sea Smoke did Sir Stefan even dirtier. Like that just means he's like, no, I
So
reject
I
you so. Huh?
wonder if that's because he wasn't Valarian or Targaryen enough.
Good question. Yeah.
Because Reyna tried but wasn't crispied, but her siblings and her family have been claimed. So, maybe if you're not Valarian enough, then you will be burnt. If not, they might just reject you.
So switching to the Erie, is it the Erie? Is that how you pronounce it? Luke, you're the
Yep.
expert. Okay, so switching to the Erie, and that's where Rhaena and Joffrey and the baby Targaryens are, right? The baby Daemon and Rhaenyra.
And the baby dragons. Don't forget about the baby dragons.
That was so cool.
I was watching that scene, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna pause my like my I'm gonna pause being in this world for a second and just sort of step out and think about what I'm watching. There's children in a room playing with dragon toys and an actual baby dragon there. Like this is very twisted. This world is very twisted. It's so weird. But before that, we get this reveal. Like there's this wild dragon, flying around, and I'm putting my money on my guy Sheep Stealer, who I referenced a couple weeks ago or maybe last week. There's a wild dragon unclaimed out there named Sheep Stealer, and if this one up there in the Erie is not the sheep isn't Sheep Stealer, I'm gonna be very disappointed because you literally hear sheep. I'm sorry, in the background. You see this charred bones and then this huge area that's been clearly burnt by fire. It's got to be sheep. The sheep. It's got to be Sheep Stealer, right? That's my guy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't like that scene because it it didn't feel House of the Dragon slash Game of Thrones esque, where they
Oh,
were like they made her look stupid. Really, you've been walking in this open plain for this long, and you didn't see this massive gash until you were walking right up to it.
oh,
Well,
I
I
this
see.
is
was,
this is on a hill, though, right? Like, I'm not trying to defend it or anything. I completely agree, but there's a little bit of logic to it.
I thought the same thing, and I was like, maybe it's because she was watching a little kid or whatever. And then they zoomed out, and it looked like you would be able to see it from pretty far away.
Mm.
Like, would you have liked it better, like if they had just been chit chatting and all of a sudden Reina is just like, what is that? What is that smell? And then you start seeing smoke off into the distance, and they go up there and find it's like this charred mountainside or something.
I've got it
Or
for you. I've got it.
what are you looking for here? Tell me.
The little kid likes to climb. Let him climb up on top of a rock on a cliff, and then she's got to run up and grab him so he doesn't fall over. And then you see, boom, massive charred land.
Call George R. R. Martin right now. Just pitch it. Tell him I got you. You need to hire me as a director. Just do it right now.
No, because then he'll have me sitting on his couch writing stuff that's never going to be published for 20 years.
I like. I understand about the execution. I see what you mean. I was cool with it. It's fine because the point is like the idea behind it, right? There's a wild dragon unclaimed. Reina has tried to claim a dragon, failed, or was not able to. I am saying, please, if you can ship a person and a dragon, I'm shipping these two right now. Give Sheep Stealer to Reina, and they might become the dynamic duo in my eyes because I think Reina is super compelling as a character because she's not happy about what she was tasked with doing, but she really does hold the future in her hands. Her task is probably more important than 100,000 other people in this world. And she's there. She's taking care of her little baby family members, and she's not happy with where she's at. They're going to get shipped off to Pentos. Give her this dragon because I think it's one of the bigger ones, and I would be like, oh, but then, man, Caleb, you ruin everything. Then at some point, they're both gonna die. So
Yeah,
maybe
that's
send them to Pentos. I don't know. I don't know. I'm so confused.
that's my thing. Is if this was in a time of peace, absolutely let her have it. But it's obvious that Aemon's going to continue to just pick off the biggest dragon after the biggest dragon and have Vagar play with his food just to sort of like set fear across the seven kingdoms and like if you put one of the youngest characters that's capable of actually controlling and understanding the magnitude and strength of a dragon on that, it puts Reina in a super vulnerable position. But at the same time, it would be to me if she and Sheep Stealer were to go toe to toe with Vagar. That's like um, the what is it called, the Last of Us female lead going up against the giant in the final season of Game of Thrones.
Oh, oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about. Um,
Like it'd be that. level of just sort of like,
Like lopsided, not
yeah.
lopsided. You're
No, no,
saying,
no,
yeah.
not lopsided, but just like incredible courage and just like an overwhelming emotion of like, yeah, let's go, you know?
Oh, yeah. I just don't know who's taking down Vagar. I can't wait to see it because we know he gets taken down at some point. But that's the. Does it happen next season and future seasons or what? Um, I could then go in that direction and sort of talk about Aemond since we're talking about Vagar. But I want to talk about Damon instead
No,
because here's Damon stuck in
no,
Harrenhal still.
I
Uh,
don't want
and
to.
okay, I hear where you're coming from then. Uh, he's not in the episode a lot, but I think that the two scenes that he's really in, especially the second scene in it, well, there's more than two scenes because he's there at the end. Um, I think this is a very important episode for Damon. What do you think, Luke?
I agree. I will also say that I am wrong. I was wrong because I thought Alice Rivers wasn't real. She is. They acknowledged her existence, so she's real. Still think she's like a witch and like has powers and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
Um, yeah, I thought it was important because he's clearly slipping, and I mean he was slipping before, but now he is all the way over.
Yeah.
Um, and he really needs to see a professional therapist, psychiatrist, something. 'Cause he is. Oof. But I thought it was a really important episode for him, more so because of it shows us where he is at mentally, and then they also show us where Rhaenyra is at mentally, and how those two things tie in together. So it's very rare where we, the audience, know where two different people are at when they don't know where the other person is at. And it's rare that it's done well. And I think that we're not shown like some secret mystery or something that they're going to uncover later on. They're just genuinely in a place where they're almost at each other's throats without knowing that the other person is going to strike. Like they know, but they don't.
Uh, That's very interesting that you connected the two of them because I wasn't thinking about the two of them at all, except for when Rhaenyra says what she says near the end. She's confiding in Massaria about like basically her feelings and how she has always felt about Damon, which I thought was very telling. Um, uh, what I was thinking of with Damon was like he finally gets to the point where he actually asks for help, which is sort of ridiculous if you think about it because the man, he just doesn't do that. And even though he starts out with asking for help and then or asking for counsel, which I thought was sort of funny, and then Alice is just like, wait, Damon Targaryen is asking for help, and he's just like, counsel. Like he looks over at her and he's just like, don't put words in my mouth. But then he says the words to her like, I need help. And then what does she say? Don't do anything. Three days from now, she already knew like there's nothing mysterious happening. She's just gonna go kill that guy, and she knows it's gonna take her 3 days to get there. So just like, yeah, just hang out for 3 more days. You're almost at the end of this. I got you. So, but my point is that he is now into a place. I think he's been broken by this experience, and he's actually admitting that he can't do something.
I'm glad he is broken because if you go back and listen to a couple episodes ago, every episode I feel like since season one or season two started, I've defended Damon. I've said he's my guy. This, that, this, that. This writing is so incredible that like I'm not rooting for him anymore. I think Amond is what Damon wants to be, but Damon is less controlled, less sporadic, less tactical these days. And although both are coming from a selfish stand and both are trying to make sure that they are left on top when it's all said and done, um, Damon's just Damon's just Damon at this point. And I like that Luke connected them too, because I was thinking the same thing. Is like they um, Rhaenyra and Damon know each other so well. They've literally known each other for the greater part of the entire show. And Damon, every move is calculated, but from a weird standpoint. And Rhaenyra knows that. Rhaenyra knows that he's going to do something that always is in his best interest. And Damon thinks he knows that Rhaenyra, everything she does, he knows what she's going to do and doesn't expect her to turn on him before he already has the upper hand. But she's changing, and we can see that throughout the entire episode. We can see her starting to get her strength and her fearlessness and I'm the leader, you guys aren't going to coddle me sort of attitude. And I think that's an advantage to her. And I don't know. I'm somehow rooting for Amond, even though I definitely have a side that isn't that side.
Are you
But
talking about Eamon or Damon?
one eye
Specifically,
Amond.
oh, got you.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Amond when I wasn't previously. Um, but I just I don't know. I'm off the Damon train, even though he's an excellent character.
So I do think that I think we're well. Clearly, there's only 2 episodes left, but I do think we're at the end of this Damon needing to be, um, I don't know, reshaped. I guess if you could sort of call it that way. I know I've been frustrated with the storyline just because he's such an effective and interesting character, and he seems like he's just become ineffective. But he's still interesting because I think he needed to relearn like where he is in this world. And Alice even tells him like you're not a player, you're just a piece. And so I think that's a lesson he needed to learn. But I will be honest with you, I the first time I saw Alice and Damon together, I'm just like, bro, Damon's gonna mess around on Rhaenyra with this Alice lady.
Yeah,
I did not have Rhaenyra messing around with Massaria before Damon was messing around with Alice on my bingo card. But it sort of goes to what you were saying, Caleb. Rhaenyra is changing. She doesn't have Rhaenys anymore. She's got an ally in Massaria. Massaria is saying, "Hey, you look good with that sword.
yeah,
Like it becomes you, right?" And Rhaenyra wants to be this warrior queen rather than just directing things from a room. And anyway, that's who she is anyway. So
yeah.
that's a dynamic I'm really interested to see what that turns into for the rest of the season.
And that change definitely doesn't happen if Damon is still running around the halls. Like he needed to be away. The safety net needed to be cut, and I think that's the main thing that's going to come from this is she's going to be able to rule the way she wants to rule.
It all seems like all roads are leading to Harrenhal anyway, because now you got Kristen Cole marching towards there. Aemond wants to fly on Vagar out there when the time is ripe, as he said, and uh, we've got Rhaenyra recruiting dragon riders to her cause, and Daemon trying to rally the troops. And now that Grover Tully is dead, we're led to believe that that might be a turning point.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All
Um,
roads lead to Harrenhal except for that one guy Rhaenyra sent to go babysit Damon. He just lost his map or something. He's taken forever.
yeah, exactly. Where'd he go? Um, I just have one other thing that I wanted to mention. So before I get to that, do you guys have any other parts of the episode you'd like to dig into before we call it an episode?
I think equally important, if not even more important than Rhaenyra's kiss, was that she slapped
Yeah.
one of her council people.
Awesome.
Thought that was
Awesome.
very telling of where she is. There's been a lot of boiling over frustration, and I'm glad that she finally let it out because how many times have we seen them all yapping around the table, and then she just stands there and then just says something to get them to shut up and then walks away, and then this keeps happening over and over.
Yeah.
I'm glad she's finally putting her foot down. I'm glad she listened to Jace and was willing to try um, getting another dragon claimed. I'm glad she slapped him. It seems like she's finally coming out of her shell as a queen and as a ruler, and I'm excited to see where that goes.
And a line that chased that slap, which was, it is my fault, I think, that you have forgotten to fear me. Oh,
Yeah, what a line.
is that good writing?
What do you think?
One of the you said cancel members, and it made me think of Amond. I'm very interested in his character right now because he's a bad guy that you root for. At no point are you rooting against him. Like you might have the inkling of being like, okay, no, you're a bad guy. I don't want you to succeed long term, but you definitely want to see where that road's going because he's such an interesting character. How he treats his brother, how he's approaching the entire like I'm gonna be violent, but I'm gonna be strategically violent and get every piece that I want so that I can rule when my brother dies. He doesn't want to think if he wants to keep that power. Um, and am I wrong in saying he wants Otto back as his hand?
God, that was one of the best parts of the episode.
Yes.
Luke,
He wanted Otto back as his hand, and Allison hasn't heard from him, but they brought up again her other son.
Yeah.
Darren, yeah. That was out of guilt. She's just like, God, my sons are a mess. And she goes to her brother, is Darren nice? Like, all these other ones are monsters. Is at least one of them nice? And he's like,
How
yeah.
scummy is it that she only goes to her brother because she was caught on the way to go talk to Cole, and then from that had to ask about her son?
Every time.
It's
Every time.
terrible. It's terrible.
But I will mention the other quote that I wrote down, and it's in connection to Aemond, who is becoming more and week by week is becoming more terrifying in my mind because
Absolutely.
he's just chilling. But Allison, when he dismisses her from his counsel, she looks at him and says, "Have the indignities of your childhood not yet been sufficiently avenged?"
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Thank you for your service." And our meeting is over. Unbelievable.
And it's so messed up because they're so good at it. Because when they said that, I just couldn't help but see him in the brothel getting cuddled by like the whores in the whorehouse, and oh
Yeah.
my god, so bad.
Um, to finish off on this on our discussion, I just wanted to my final thought is, and shout out to the return of Viserys. It was nice to see him again. He's awesome. I just want to end on a word that was used twice that I learned today, or when I watched the show, and that's lickspittle. So shout out to all the lickspittles out there. Did you guys catch that? 2 times they used it in this episode.
I do not recall. What does that mean?
A lickspittle is a contemptible, fawning person, a servile flatterer. And they decided that they were going to say it twice in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more to say, but we're going to go ahead and let everybody go on with their lives and thank them for listening. Unless there's any final thoughts from the two of you. Okay, very good. Very, very, very good. For the last time on this episode, we've already said it, but we will reiterate it. Caleb, have safe travels. Enjoy your trip. And I'm sure all of the ColbyCast listeners are expecting to have an incredible update when you come back. We will miss you for the next couple episodes, but we will try our best to keep performing at a high level.
Bonsoir.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Learning the French. Oh, français. Bonjour. I'm gonna start going into song from Beauty and the Beast, so I'm gonna just stop now. All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening. So for Luke and for our world traveler Caleb, this is Colby reminding you not to be a lickspittle. You can find the ColbyCast on Twitter and Instagram at the ColbyCast. If you're wordy, like me, you can send an email to thecolbycast@gmail.com. Please subscribe to the show and leave a review on your favorite podcast app or wherever you listen to podcasts. This podcast is not endorsed by anyone or anything for that matter. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the ColbyCast unless otherwise indicated.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.